There's a rowdy crowd today.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast, bonus edition of the show. It's that time of year. We're on the road to WrestleMania. Too many events. I don't want to only do one show a week because you know what? You guys deserve as much pro wrestling talk as possible. And if we were to do one show a week, everything would be done in about 10 seconds. That's just not fair to all of you. So this is the Rowdy Wrestling Podcast Special Edition. I'm Tony Stabile. Joining me in just a few seconds is Mike Palmo, good friend of the show. You guys remember him from doing past reviews with us. We're going to be taking a look at TNA, not TNA. Wow, excuse me. A lot of TNA guys on the show. It's NXT Takeover San Antonio, night before Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble's going on tonight if you're listening day of that we put this up on the internet, so Sunday, January 29th. And so all of you listening live today as we go up, good on you. We'll throw in a couple little things at the end of the show talking about the Royal Rumble, if time permits. If not, well, hey, you're just going to watch a Royal Rumble, and then we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do for it afterwards. You know, YOLO sort of thing. So if you want to keep up with the show anyway, always check us out on Twitter, which is at Rowdy Wrestling. Also on Instagram, it's more of a personal one, I guess, because if you like wrestling and dogs, I mean, you're pretty safe there. It's a pretty safe bet for your sort of Instagram goodness. That's also at Rowdy Wrestling. And if you want to yell at us in more than 140 characters, shoot us an email, any inquiries, interview inquiries, anything you want to do. That's rowdywrestling@gmail.com. Go check out the sponsors, Heels and Faces. They make sure you look good as a pro wrestling fan with pro wrestling inspired clothing. So go check out their website, heelsandfaces.com, and buy anything you want there. And you can also use the promo code ROWDY, all in caps, ROWDY, to get 10% off your total purchase. As I mentioned, Palmo has been quietly snickering in the corner every time I've made a mistake here. How's it going, brother?
Very good, Tony. Thanks again for having me back on the show.
Always fun, always fun. And I want to get your thoughts on this to begin with. Just like as the show as a whole, going into this takeover, I'll be honest, my expectations were really low. Because, you know, we everybody heard that Triple H, conference call from a few days ago, where he just went on to say, NXT, the show, and the roster right now aren't as good as they've been in the past, aren't as good as I'd like them to be, but we're working on it. It's a cyclical business, and NXT is probably the most, quickest turnover, because if a guy gets really good, they want to get him on the main roster. So if you get 5 or 6 guys that are working up and down the show, and then they all get called up to the main roster like we've had in the past year, well, then you have, you know, a huge void there. And I think right now in NXT, as fans, we can see there's the clear divide between the indie darlings that they've brought in and their students that they currently have. And, you know, right now it's just too large of a gap in talent, and it clearly comes across in the show. So on my side, I don't know about you, Palmo, I was really going into this pay-per-view with such low expectations, and I think that worked well in my favor for enjoying the show.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, the only expectation I had was, like, you know, the main event, the NXT title, the women's fatal four-way, and the tag. Besides that, I agree with you. Like, NXT, come these wrestlers, they come in, they get so good, then it's like Vince is like, okay, I want them on the main shows. So it's like
and then they Tyler Breeze them.
Yes, exactly. Or like the Ascension them, you know, in tag teams, you know.
Well, wait, the Ascension weren't good in NXT to begin with. I'm sorry.
I enjoyed them.
Oh God, why? You're fired. That's it. Done. Over.
I like things you hate.
All right. Well, one thing on this show that I had such a huge tease for was on the pre-show of the event. You had Corey Graves come out and say, "Hey guys, I've got a lot on my plate. I got to let something go. I'm leaving the NXT announcing booth, but in my place, we're gonna have Nigel McGuinness." And so, you know, he and Nigel are like, "We're friends, haha, Chalio." And I'm sorry I did that, everybody. So in my biggest hopes, all I wanted was for the night to be called by Tom Phillips, Corey Graves, and Nigel McGuinness. But no. They let Corey Graves have his last night with fucking Percy Watson. And, you know, and I hate to bash a guy that hard, but here's somebody who in the ring wasn't that great. Here's somebody whose personality really didn't come across that well or perceived positively to the fans while he was wrestling. Gets released from the company. And then their idea is, hey, here's a guy who's a subpar wrestler with a really bad personality. Let's bring him back and only use his personality, which sucks. So, you're putting him up there, and he's contributing as well to the commentary, and probably even worse than David Otunga, because at least David Otunga just shuts the fuck up for a lot of it. Percy Watson's there, and he's just saying some of the dumbest things, and you can clearly tell he wasn't watching the product before he got hired, and since then, he still doesn't understand people. And for the fact that we have to sit through Percy Watson on NXT television every week is annoying. And then when you just get that dangling carrot of Nigel McGuinness, especially after the fantastic job that he did during the UK tournament, blew my mind.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Like, in fact, I messaged you when I was watching the kickoff show, and then I saw Nigel. I was like, he's on it, and you're like, don't give me any spoilers. I was like, okay.
But I was so happy from that. I'm like, okay, Nigel.
I was ecstatic. I was marking out like crazy. And but yeah, why did he keep why was he there? They should have just, if they're changing it, bring in the new guy that's taking over, let him do what he does best.
Yeah, introduce him properly. But I think their idea is they're going to use Nigel in the same heel voice as they've been using Corey Graves.
Okay.
But the thing is, Corey Graves is a cool heel. Nigel McGuinness, I don't know if he can pull off the cool heel thing as well as he did in ROH back in like 2004, 5, and 6. So I don't know how that dynamic's going to work, especially if you have a loser face heel who's just going to bash on him, and then Tom Phillips sitting there in the middle like, hi guys. Superplex, sort of thing. So for me, it was just kind of weird. But anyways, let's really get into the show proper. As the night began with Eric Young versus Ty Dillinger. Eric Young picking up the win here, and this is really one of those stories where I hope to God that they do have that long burn storyline for Ty Dillinger set up here, because Eric Young needed this win. But so did Ty Dillinger, in my mind, on television for him to be taken seriously. However, if their idea is they're going to do the slow burn of Ty Dillinger never winning, they getting his back against the wall and saying, like, if I don't win here, guys, I'm out, sort of thing. Or give him the Daniel Bryan role from, like, 2004 in ROH. Like, okay, I can see that. My biggest fear, though, is that, and, WWE and NXT as a whole doesn't think that broadly, doesn't think that far ahead, so I'm not too sure. But the main story here is, as I mentioned, Ty doesn't think he has what it takes to be in NXT. He always comes up short for the big matches. Then, Eric Young and Sanity offer him a spot in the Wyatts. I mean, Sanity. And he goes on to say no. Then tonight they have a typical match with the usual fuckery from the outside. But the finish saw Dillinger hit a huge dive on Damo to eliminate him for a moment, and as he got back in the ring, Eric Young caught him, then gave him the wheelbarrow neckbreaker, which I love that move, but I realize it requires far too much cooperation to give. Anyways, the wheelbarrow neckbreaker for the pin and the win, and this was a fun and well-paced opening match for the night, if you're just looking in the cosm of the night itself for me. So, Dillinger was really the great face in peril here against the odds of Sanity, and, Eric Young is just that damn good. So, in my mind, this was a really fantastic way to start the night.
Oh no, it was a good match to start it up. I totally agree. Like, either one, whoever would have won, I would have been okay with.
But then you would have been upset for the loser. So I think that works out well.
It's true. It's true. Like,
if you're happy whoever wins, but you also feel shitty for the one who lost on both sides of the fence, I think that's a win. I think we actually just fell into their ploy.
Yeah, and like you said, it was a good back and forth. Like, I was with some friends who were watching it, and the guy pointed out, I was like, is this supposed to be like another Wyatt family, like Wyatt Family 2.0? So I was like, maybe, but we'll see what happens, because Eric Young is very talented. He'll come up with something completely different. So, and the finisher, the finish how it was, I was just laughing at how Ty got back in the ring by, like, kind of like flipping over the top rope for Eric to catch him. I'm like, I've never seen. Why would wrestlers go back in the ring like that?
I know. Well,
it's like what you said. It took too much effort. So if Ty would have screwed that up, then that would have been a botch, and we would have seen that a botchamania. So,
Yeah, you never know. Anyways, I think it was a really solid way to start off the night, which then brought us into a match where I'm pretty vexed on it. I think this might have been the weakest match of the night. I'm talking about Roderick Strong defeating Andrade Cien Almas. This thing, I think it hit the 12-minute mark, but it felt a lot longer. And it's not a knock at Roderick Strong at all, because this was a match designed to make Roderick Strong look strong. But I mean, Cien Almas, it seems like he's regressing from week to week. He's really pulling an original Sin Cara, where Sin Cara was pure garbage and then just got worse. At least Cien Almas came in and he had a couple of great matches and then, just decided to tank. So it's one of those where I had trouble. I'll be honest, I had trouble paying attention at this point. I mean, I love Roddy Strong. I really do. That really sweet backbreaker onto the top turnbuckle, that was really chill to look at. But aside from that, I mean, Cien got the upper hand. Roderick Strong reversed, then turns around and hits the sick kick. It looked like he connected pretty hard, and that was fun. So, I mean, outside of that, the one thing that really also hurt was Percy Watson had no idea who these two men were. And the fact that he has no idea what he's doing and he doesn't shut up really hurts.
Oh yeah, sorry for all the fans out there, but I really just didn't care much about this match. Like, after watching Eric Young and Ty Dillinger, we've seen this one. I'm just like, okay, this is a filler. So I was like, I just wasn't, like you said, I wasn't into it. Like, granted, both wrestlers, it's a wrestling match, and Strong did look strong. Pun intended, but it's just, I was just completely out of it. I'm just like, okay, can we get the next match already? So it's just, I wasn't into it as I was with the other matches, so that's the only thing I could say about it. Like,
but then again, when you look at it, and if you can turn around and say Roderick Strong wasn't your weakest match of the card, I mean, in my mind, all these matches, with the exception of that one, were. I think I texted you right before the Bobby Roode Shinsuke Nakamura match started. I said, so far tonight, it's been good, but not great. Like one of those things where it's like, you know what, I'm enjoying my evening. But the main event certainly made up for it. And the match actually that I had the least amount going for it, for me, going into it, was the NXT Tag Team title match. Authors of Pain versus DIY, Ciampa, and Gargano. Now, the reason why I felt that this match would have been the worst in my mind going into it is because Authors of Pain are so, green as goose shit.
Yeah.
And Paul Ellering is not the same Paul Ellering from when you and I were like, toddlers.
Yeah, that's true.
That I was like, and we knew going into this. I mean, it was freaking evident. If Authors of Pain didn't win, then that team was going to be completely worthless.
Yeah, it's another thing that how WWE has like these big guys that they're building them up to be like almost unstoppable force. Like I literally said, they're like smaller Brock Lesnar's. It's like,
well, the thing is, they're bigger than him.
Yeah, but what I mean, like the way they're kind of like booked out, and I'm just like, I'm watching DIY. I'm like, I know it's a wrestling match, and these guys are using the skill, but it's like it's a David versus Goliath, and in this case, if Goliath was not going to win, then it just would have been bad on their team, like the way they're being booked. So it's just, I knew DIY was going to lose the titles from the opening beginning. It was still an entertaining match. There was some very good back and forth, especially the hot tags and
the double German suplexes.
Yeah, I actually was saying, Suplex City Junior. Like I in my head they were like smaller Brock Lesnar's, like they were Brock Lesnar Junior tag teams. So, and I find it more entertaining for me compared to the match that we had before. So that woke me up. But all in all, like DIY, I see them getting back the titles, and because I feel they had it for sure. They need to keep doing something with this team.
Well, here's the thing. I know, like as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, you needed to have Authors of Pain win here, or else they just look like duds. So that's okay.
Absolutely.
And I feel you've told such a fantastic story about with Gargano and Ciampa over the past year that I feel that story's about to culminate in Ciampa becoming the psychopathic killer. Like that's where I think that's where we're heading. I think what's going to happen here, I'm not fantasy booking. This is just my expectations. You get the rematch, they lose again, then they lose another match versus whatever team, put them in a tournament for it. And then Ciampa starts blaming Gargano. And then we get the Ciampa versus Gargano feud that I think they were kind of teasing last summer before they realized that tag team actually had real wheels on them.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm sitting there like the heartstrings of mine are being tugged at oh man, can you imagine that sort of match that we're gonna have? Now, hopefully you don't get a you don't get a Jannetty Shawn Michaels thing where one of them's left in the dust. Because both of these guys are amazing, and if it weren't for their size, I know Triple H doesn't care, so you're fine. But on the main roster in WWE, if it weren't for their size, Vince will never take them seriously. I could easily build my NXT around a feud of those guys. Easily. For the championship. But, so that's why for me, when it came down to the tag team title switch, it didn't bother me so much that it happened. Could it have been with a better team? Like, this is how bad they are. Occam and Razor, I think that's what their official names are. I used to say Razor, or Occam's Razor, which I think that is where it's from. It hasn't been explained to me properly, but simplest option or simplest reason is likely the one to have happened. Anyways, I think what's so dumb is they don't even look that much alike, but on their entrance gear, they actually have their names on their shoulders so people can realize who is who. But no one cares. So I have no idea which one is which. One of them's name is actually Sonny, which is funny as fuck. And so at the end of the day, like you're essentially trying to mishmash the look of the Shield, the Road Warriors, and a little bit of Ascension, I guess. And what you got is two mutes and a very, very, very subdued or Ritalin-filled Paul Ellering. And as an attraction, I feel it doesn't have very many wheels. It doesn't have a leg to stand on. The wheels ain't strong on this one. But anyways, let's move on to a match which, on the internet, I'm seeing a lot of people bashing it. But I think it's because people aren't, suspending their disbelief. Is I thought this was a really great match for what it was, and personalities, this match fit every person's personality perfectly. We have the NXT women's title match. It was a fatal 4-way, one fall finish, which that's where a lot of people were complaining, like, oh, you should have made an elimination because it was too easy for such and such and such and such, and then it made no sense why Asuka could win. And I sit back and I go, F you, it makes total sense how Asuka could win. So one, the storyline here is you have a couple of contenders for the championship finally. They all kind of beat down Asuka at different points, and Asuka, bursts into William Regal's office and goes, I want them. And then Regal goes, who? And she goes, all of them. And that whole spiel. That was okay. That was cool. So when you had the match, everything played into it perfectly. You had, what's her face? Nikki Cross come out. She's just crazy Nikki Cross. So she's willing to do whatever to win. Then you have Peyton Royce and Billie Kay come out, but they come out together. So there's your proof. These girls are more besties than Jericho. And then you have Asuka come out, and Asuka just wants to kill everybody. So the idea is on commentary, they even built it up. They go, well, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce don't care who's champion. They just both want to be champions. So they'll be co-champions, a la cool in their minds. So they're beating down. Eventually, they get out of the ring. Asuka and Nikki start beating the crap out of each other. And then when, the girls see a moment right, they jump into the ring and they try to take over, but they get their asses kicked. Eventually, through the match logic and everything of the sort, they end up getting the upper hand. They get the upper hand on Nikki Cross towards the announcer's table, and lo and behold, there's an extra table next to the announcers. They do a double suplex gimmick to Nikki Cross through. They eliminate Nikki Cross. These girls then realize, oh crap, Asuka is dead on the outside. This girl hasn't moved once. So they run back down to the ring, and, you know, big ups to Peyton Royce. I'm actually going to give her props here. While Billy was just kind of running and trying to hold her hand like, come, Peyton Royce would slow down and kind of sell. So big ups on Peyton Royce. Like, I don't know if she was actually hurt or she realized, hey, I should pretend like I'm going through shit. And they get to the ring. They try to beat Asuka 2-on-1, which then again, it makes sense because it's 2-on-1 on Asuka. But the entire time, you know, my girlfriend was watching this. She goes, hey, why doesn't the other one just lay down for the other one if they don't care? But the thing is these girls are the mean girls. They're dumb. They're just stupid. And I can sit there and believe it, that in their minds, are like, we don't care who wins. We're both going to pin Asuka, and the one who's ever on the bottom is, you know, directly touching Asuka. They're the champion. Whatever. That's all that matters. Instead of just laying down while Asuka is kind of out and probably wouldn't realize that someone else is getting pinned other than herself so she doesn't kick out, sort of thing. So, for me sitting there, I believed all of this. And it made all sense. It was logical. Now, yes, it's dumb pro wrestling rules of why the hell would you have a one-fall finish with 4 different people? It makes a lot more sense when you have elimination 4-way matches where, okay, first person's eliminated, second person, then you could build up to the crescendo of the big final pin. But in this circumstance, god damn, that made sense. And it made sense to me that these girls would just be too stupid, because they're green, to pin each other and to still try and pin the champion. So it made total sense, and that's why them just trying to beat Asuka would end up not going their way, and then, you know, they lose, so Asuka retains. I thought, in the end, because of all of that, and I didn't even have to build that in my mind, it was established. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are good, but they're still kind of dumb. It's been built that way for years now, or however long they've been in NXT, and I can live with it. Rant over.
Tony, you pretty much said a lot of stuff that I had written down about this match. The only thing that that you didn't mention was when the champ, decided to do the double German suplex onto the divas from Australia, like the divas down under.
Yeah, that was cool. No, you're 100% right. Completely forgot about that.
Like, I know with your rant, you forgot about something awesome, but besides that, everything you just said, I totally agree. It was like I almost like you were like you pointed out, it was like Late Cool again, or like when NXT had like the BFFs, you know, like Summer Rae, Sasha, and was it Charlotte at that group? You know, It felt like that all over again. So all they're missing now is to bring in Emma. Then you could have like the divas from down under, you know, taking over NXT.
Don't you dare. Oh my god. Well, you could bring her in and then continue to show the Emelina promos for another year and then have her debut as Emelina, and nobody would know the wiser. Nobody would be the wiser. I can't even talk today. I'm so sorry, guys. Then let's move on over to the main event of the night.
But before we move to the main event, you forgot to talk about that promo from Seth Rollins that happened before the women's match.
I was hoping to hold that off to the end, but yeah, let's talk about it now then.
Oh, sorry.
No. Hey, listen. I brought you in for a reason. Let's go with it. No, that's okay. Seth Rollins, right before the women's match, while the announcers are doing the their turnaround, so they're not facing the ring and they're just facing the camera, and they're going to talk, the three of them, before they could say anything substantial, or before Percy Watson could just continue to make a fool of himself. There's a commotion
Seth.
In the ring, and Seth Rollins is there, and Seth Rollins is just yelling. He goes, if I can get to Triple H, I know he's here tonight. Triple H, I want you. I want to fight. You ruined my Royal Rumble. You ruined my year. You ruined my life. That's essentially what he sounded like. And
like Batman?
Like a pitchy Batman. Because Seth Rollins is a little pitchy. So he's saying this, and you know what? Yeah, this was kind of cool. I'm sitting there like, oh man, we could have Uncle Hunter, Uncle Paul come out, take off his suit jacket, roll up his sleeves, and we might get a little brawl or a pull apart. But no, he just comes out, stares at him, and then very low, like not even with his hand up, his hand is practically at his hip, just doing like this come here motion, like subtly, like thinking nobody will notice I'm motioning for someone from the back. And for a split second, I'm like, oh, cool, he's a wrestler. He's going to send like the heels out. No, it's security. Seth beats off a little bit of security. He gets up the ramp. Then eventually there's too many of them, and they're holding him, and then they just escort him to the back. And that was it.
But the biggest pop that I find from this promo is when Rollins like clotheslined that little security guy, and he went flying on the ramp.
I didn't. You know what? For me,
I
like, at that
it.
point, I couldn't. No, but that's good. I'm glad you had some sort of enjoyment out of it. But for me, I'm sitting there like, it would have been better if, let's just say, let's say, fantasy booking wise, you have Triple H do that thing where he comes out in the middle of the ring and he goes, "It started with a dream. The future is now," and then puts his hands up and like the lights turn on. It would have been great if he had done that, and then out of nowhere, Seth Rollins attacks him. And then you have the pull apart and you have the anger and everything like that. And that's how you start off NXT TakeOver. And you're like, okay. You're setting off the tone of the night, like, on predictability. This has nothing to do with NXT. But then I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but on Twitter, they had the thing where I think it was Charlie Caruso or Kathy Kelly or whatever brunette girl they have now. They don't like blondes anymore because they have Renee. And Renee's got to be the only blonde interview girl. Triple H goes, whoa. Seth has to realize there are two Triple H's. There's Triple H, the Destroyer on Monday Night Raw, and then there's Triple H, the Creator on NXT. You do not come to NXT and try and stir shit with me. And I'm like, no, this is when you keep the consistency in your character. Stop giving us two Triple H characters, one on NXT and one on Raw. Just separate him from NXT at that point. Don't make him Uncle Paul. I don't want Uncle Paul. If you were to give me Uncle Paul, you got to give me Uncle Paul on all shows. You got to turn Triple H face on Raw, and that's how it's got to be. Or you keep him heel on everywhere, because the stupidity like he did last year, after the Royal Rumble, or just before the Royal Rumble, whatever it was. No, it was after or anything, where Roman Reigns killed him with a bunch of spears, and then he was off of television for a few weeks, and then lo and behold, the next night he's on, or like the week after that, he's on NXT, totally fine. Like that, That was stupid. And that promo itself got me so freaking mad. Yeah. Very upset. No, because that's all it is. It's like you buried it. You buried your angle. Like, I don't, it's like he could have said, "Hey, you don't come into," like you could have said like this. He's like, "Listen, here, you don't come into my house. This is really my house. WWE is my house. NXT is my playhouse." He could have cut a gimmick like a promo like that. But no, he goes on to say, "No, I'm a good guy here in NXT, so we're gonna deal this diplomatically, but on Monday Night Raw, I'll kill you." No, that's stupid. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Rant Day.
Anyways, let's move on to the main event before I lose more hair. NXT Championship match. Bobby Roode defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. These guys almost went a half hour. It was glorious. I mean, there's no pun there. It was just that damn good. These guys had a very good match in my mind. The story of it is they went back and forth. Nakamura was getting the better side of Bobby Roode for the most part, except at one point Bobby Roode throws Nakamura off the top rope, and the announcers played it up like, "Oh my God, he could have hit his head," and I think Percy Watson went, "I don't know what part of his anatomy he hit, but it looked like it hurt." Stupid.
Tony,
no.
I had that blocked out of my head, my memory. Thanks for bringing it back.
But, then again, that led into, I don't know if this is where he started selling the leg, but then at another point, Bobby Roode was on the apron, and Shinsuke looked like and thankfully, this is where Tom Phillips and Corey Graves were smart. He went to hit a Kinshasa, his Bombaye knee. But I guess maybe out of being tired and the ring apron not being all that wide, he kind of just went low and hit Bobby Roode randomly in his, a midsection, and then crumpled to the floor and then started selling his knee. Now, They didn't call it a Kinshasa. They're just like, through his body, and I guess he tried to knee Bobby Roode in the gut. I'm like, thank you, boys. That's how commentary should go. You hide a mistake, and if need be, it's to build into something. Good boys. Oh, he was very low on that knee, so when he hit hard, and then now he's on the floor. Very good. And then the rest of the match was built to make both of these guys look so strong, and I loved it. Shinsuke was fighting from an injury. They did the thing where for a moment they had to stop the match and kill the momentum, which in my mind is good here because we're living in the 21st century and you got to have, people believe that this is real. So ringside doctors coming in and evaluating Shinsuke. Shinsuke is yelling at him like, in Japanese, like, "Fuka you," or whatever it is. I'm sorry again. And just yelling at him like, "I can continue." And Bobby Roode's like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, you continue." Oh yeah. So then Bobby hits him with his finish as he gets back in the ring, but had nothing to do with his knee, so he tried to pin him. Shinsuke kicks out. Then he's all like, "Screw this," puts him in the half crab, and as he's torquing, he's also punching the knee, and you have Shinsuke reaching and screaming, and then eventually makes it to the bottom rope, and Bobby Roode's like, "No, this is bad." Shinsuke hits comes back and hits his Kinshasa, but because he's so hurt, he can't make the pin, and it's so long, it's getting there. Then Bobby finally hits his elevated DDT, pins him 1, 2, 3, and I thought that was great. But then, I was so into what's going on in the ring, I started losing the commentary, because I'm just like, this is good, this is really, really good. I went back and I watched the end of the match again, and now I'm paying attention to the commentary. Lo and behold, I see a bald head trot on down to ringside, and that's that's Tensai or Albert or Jason Albert or Matt Bloom, whatever million names they want to give him, and they acknowledge him, going like, "William Regal's not here. Matt, Jason Alberts is acting as commissioner tonight because William Regal's sick or something of the sort," and I thought that was really great. It wasn't needed, but it was that tiny little bit of realism, like, okay, no, the GM, the authority figure, is coming out to ringside because, like, you know what? And this was during when Bobby had Nakamura in the half crab. He's like, you could have also thrown in the finish of, no, the authority figure's throwing in the towel. He's like, no, he's been beat. I mean, this is too much. We can't hurt our moneymaker anymore. And I thought, wow, these guys were so meta in their storytelling that they're like, let's just throw him out there. Let's have commentary say, "Hey, here's our general manager right now." Just to throw it in the back of your mind, like, okay, they might stop the match, not even have a finish. They'll just stop the match due to, we want to continue making money and we can't have this guy, have his knee amputated, sort of thing. So I thought that was really great. In the end, Bobby Roode's a heel, so he can't look stronger than your faces, unless you're Triple H in 2003. And so Bobby Roode wins the championship here, but looked like $1 million because you're going against Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Shinsuke losing the championship, but here he was fighting back from mid-match injury and still kicked out of a finish. Like, I'm okay with that. I mean, at this point, it's a big match. And I really felt like this match, the real only hampering to it was on television itself. The build-up to it for me was lackluster until you gave us that really great promo package that they showed at the beginning of the night and just before the match, which really made it feel like, oh man, this has been a very hot rivalry, which it wasn't. But the editing and the storytelling within the night, I feel like this was a fantastic match. And it's really early in the year, and it won't be match of the year, but this might be January match for me. We're really coming close. It's January 29th. In WWE, for me, emotion-wise, this is probably one of the best matches of the month.
I was enjoying every single moment of this main event because, me, I'm a Bobby Roode fan anyway. So, of course, I was wearing my Glorious shirt yesterday and just, like, it was a match that I had a hard time sitting down because it's like what you said, like, there was all this back and forth. It's like you don't know what was going to happen. Like, Bobby Roode was attacking, then Shinsuke took over, then that possum, then plain possum that Bobby did, what Shinsuke wanted to do his finisher, and you just see Bobby Roode lying down on the ground.
Just
then
waiting.
Shinsuke, he's like, whatever, goes to get Bobby Roode, then he rolls him up for it. I'm like, that was unexpected.
Wait, let's actually explain it for those who didn't quite catch it or those who haven't seen it yet, and why the hell are you listening to us without seeing it, but whatever, cool, thank you.
Sorry.
Shinsuke, no, it's okay. Shinsuke beats down Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode is on the ground, and that hits his setup for the Kinshasa, and he's like, I'm gonna hit this like I've hit Samoa Joe, back of your neck from the second rope, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and you can see this is how great and crazy Shinsuke Nakamura is. in his face, you see the man getting impatient, like, oh, come on. I just want to knee you in the back of the head. Be a good guy. Get up. Come on. And then, like, loses patience and then go for it. And that was really smart. I thought that's, here's some more logic here that I can get behind. Here's Bobby Roode. Logic, you could be like, oh, no, he's so beat down, he can't get up, so what's the point? Or B, screw you. I know what you're about to do. I ain't getting up. I never see you throw a knee to a downed opponent, so I'm going to sit here and maybe you won't have the logic to do that. And lo and behold, Bobby Roode is smarter than Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
It was a great it was just played perfectly. These two guys played off each other so perfectly. I was in heaven.
It kind of feels weird. I think he has more chemistry than Shinsuke has more chemistry with Bobby Roode than he did with Samoa Joe.
Oh, absolutely. And you could see it, like Joe and before that they had like Samoa Joe highlighting the audience. At one point I thought Joe was going to come over the barricade, attack Shinsuke, but that didn't happen. So, and I was kind of glad that did not happen because I was just enjoying this back and forth between Bobby and Shinsuke.
But here's the thing. This is where NXT is better than the main roster for storytelling.
Yeah.
Because WWE, that's what would have happened. Because they can't have one of their stars not appear on a pay-per-view. Here we are. It's NXT. There's no story for Samoa Joe. Why the hell are you going to shoehorn him in? The champion does not appear on every single TV show. And that's why these guys are so over. Because they're not there all the time. So when they show up, it means something. And I don't mean to cut it off, but give me your overview of the night itself. How did this NXT TakeOver San Antonio compare to NXT TakeOvers of the past in your mind?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great takeover. Not like I find Brooklyn was better, but having Bobby Roode win the main title, I thought it was glorious. So that's just me being a mark right now.
All right. And I agree with you. It wasn't the best takeover event that they've ever had, but it went from a decent show to, a very enjoyable show to a really great show with the main event. So in the end, if you only have time for one match, go give yourself that half hour or 40 minutes of awesomeness from the main event of the evening. Outside of that, it was a very enjoyable special event, pay-per-view, takeover, whatever you want to call them. And very quickly, before we run out of time, because we're really tight on time now, Palmo, quick, hot take. Who's winning the Royal Rumble?
Chris Jericho.
All right. So let's look into that. I hope it comes true for you because that's, believe it or not, at work, my pool is Chris Jericho. I pick Chris Jericho at work as well, so that's pretty funny. And so anybody, all of you listeners out there, go check us out at Rowdy Wrestling if you can contain yourself in 140 characters, rowdywrestling@gmail.com. The comment section on YouTube, anything of the sort. I want to know. Palmo wants to know. You can yell at Palmo and go ahead and insult him all you want. We want to know what you guys thought of NXT TakeOver San Antonio. Hit us up on the interwebs. We love creating a discussion, and now's the time to do so as we're on the road to WrestleMania. Thank you to everybody listening. I will be back either later tonight or tomorrow with the review of the Royal Rumble with Mr. Steve Rockamaniac. And on that, everybody, have a great one. That's about all the time we have for this week. If you want to hear the uncut, uncensored interview or any of our past episodes, head on over to rowdywrestling.net or our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on Facebook, Twitter, and iTunes. Once more, I'm Tony Stabile. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more Rowdy Wrestling. But for now, keep it locked to CJIM.